When did you transition from, like, was there a day that came where you're like, you know what? This sign spinning thing is dope. I need some more responsibility. Maybe I should try recruiting a team. Like, at what point did you make the transition from just an employee to becoming an employer? Like, at what, was there a switch?
I don't know. I guess it kind of just came to me. I remember before I actually got that factory job, I was working, spinning as much as I could, but I was a waiter or a busser, a waiter. I mean, I did several positions at Altamirano. But I was, trying to go to college, and this was before I was becoming a parent, by the way. So I was trying to go to college, and I was taking some classes, and I was doing both jobs. And, through my sign spinning career, my first year, I met Keaton. He was my spin instructor, became like my best friend over time. But I was hung out with him, and I got to know him a lot, and we became friends. And anyways, he got really good. He was always really good, even when he started teaching me how to sign spin. We called him Spinsei because Keaton's a freaking beast.
Proper.
But anyways, he went to Chicago for AArrow because they were starting a franchise out there, and he was over there for some time. I can't remember. I think he was there for like 6 months before he called me, and he's like, "You want to come to Chicago?" And I was like, "What?" I never thought that was like ever a possibility, And I can't remember exactly where I was or if I was at El Torito at that time, but I remember talking to Keaton about it for like a week straight, and then I met Rupert, which is the person that flew me out there to Chicago, and I spent some time out there, and I lived with them, and I learned, that side of the business, the building a team, because that was the goal, is we were going to build a team and train sign spinners and build Chicago. And that was my introduction to it. And, I went over there for some time, and I got homesick after a while. And I was like so emotional. I just wanted to come back home. Chicago is like a different experience, but it was a great experience. I don't regret anything of it. But funny story, one of my bad experiences in Chicago, I'll tell you about it in a bit. But I remember being homesick, and I was like, I just want to go home, and I just want to go home. It's been too much time. But I wasn't ready to go home, and the idea was I was supposed to stay in Chicago. Like, I was supposed to go home to like say bye to everybody, get all my stuff, and move back. But I ended up staying because I don't remember exactly why. But I didn't go back, and I stayed in LA, and then I met Raquel, and then it went from there, because I remember coming back this summer of I can't remember if it was like 2010 or something like that. I think it was, or like 2009. I don't know. It was like a year to 2 years after, like within my first 2 years in AArrow. But even then, when I stayed, even though I was like learning managerial things over there, I didn't start doing that here. I was still just spinning out here, and there was already like a team here and managers, and so they didn't really need my help, but I learned some of this stuff over there. Then, when I was, I took full-time AArrow like a year or 2 years later after that. I went full-time. I was working at the factory by that time already.
I remember that period of time vividly.
Got married, and we had Anthony.
Yeah.
And I was working at that factory because, I needed to provide for my family. I needed to make whatever money I could make. And at that time, the factory was paying good. And then I went to convention, my first convention, WSSC. Freaking changed my freaking life.
It's always the first one.
Yeah. And I don't know what crazy thought in my head, but man, I know I had a bad story that I wanted to tell you real quick about Chicago. One of my second day in Chicago, I wanted to do some You're At Here spinning. Yaw spinning. And there's a lot of people in Chicago. So I put the sign on the floor, and I was checking my phone, right? And this guy was just not paying attention, and he walks and he trips over my sign, and he got so upset at me. and he threw his hot coffee on me. Thankfully, it wasn't like boiling hot, and it didn't hit my face, but like it went on my chest, and like, you know, it was a little hot, and I wasn't like, ow, it hurt. I was just like astonished at what happened, and I was like, dude, you tripped over my sign and you hit me with the coffee, whatever. Anyways, I just had to tell you about that story real quick. But going back to what I was talking about, I almost forgot what I was talking about.
The rise.
Oh yeah.
Of
So
Christian the GM.
Oh God, when you say it like that, it sounds so cool.